It's so great to see you again. This is our second appointment, correct?
Yeah.
So the last time we talked, we were able to kind of get a background about you and some history about where you are with your usage and about kind of what led to it and where it kind of has gotten you. I know we've discussed how much you were using and about how your family had found you passed out in your car, and we've talked about that, and we're kind of moving on from that because right now we really just want to start focusing on your decision and your path in this treatment and kind of changing the way you're using and getting to the point where we're not using anymore. Um, I do want to know though if you've had a chance in the past week to really think about what it would be like to quit.
Um, yeah, I've definitely thought about it several times. Just what it would take for me to quit and how I could go about doing that. And the thing that I ultimately think about when I do think about quitting is just how difficult that would be. How difficult it would be for me to actually just quit using.
So when you say that it's going to be difficult for you, what is it that you're concerned about that's going to be so hard?
Um, I'm just afraid. I don't know if it's I'm fearful of the change or I guess fear of the unknown. What do I do with myself if I'm not using? So I just feel really um, anxious, afraid, that kind of thing about the situation.
So it seems like, although that you are expressing that you're going to have this fear, maybe this anxiety towards this change, you are kind of gaining an understanding about how you're needing to change though. Is that right?
Yeah, I understand that it's something that I need to do.
Okay. So if you are saying that you need to do it, you feel like that's something that you can do then, or you need to but you don't want to.
Um, Both. Um, I think the thing I'm lacking is the want. I know that I need to. I kind of want to. I just don't know if I'm ready.
So when you say that you need to, why is it that you need to?
Just because the way that it's affecting my life, it's affecting my health, um, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. Everything is just uh, going down and going down fast. So I need to do it to better myself, to better my life, and that kind of thing. It's just I don't know if I'm 100% on it, and I don't want to set myself up for failure necessarily. So
I do want to let you know though that how much I appreciate you for sharing that you know kind of where what you need to do and that you are afraid. I feel like it's really important that you're able to embrace both the feelings of needing to change and the feelings of being afraid to because that's where we're really going to find that starting ground for moving forward. Um, and this is really a big step. It's always a big step when you come in and you admit to someone else about maybe what you consider to be your faults or what you consider to be a hard time in your life. Um, have you thought that maybe using is bad for you, or do you not have that feeling about it?
um, can you go a little bit more about what you mean by do I think it's bad for me?
Um, when you are using the ones that we talked about, I know you mentioned Valium and codeine. Are you feeling like this is totally normal for me to use these drugs the way that I want, that you want to use them? Or are you feeling like maybe you are crossing a boundary with your health, or maybe um, your mental place when you take those medications?
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously the medications are healthy or okay for you, as long as you're taking them as prescribed by your doctor. Um, Taking them all together and in the quantities that I have been taking them in, it's not normal. It's not healthy. Um, it is damaging my body. You know, it's, my health is, it is important. So I know to be healthier, I would have to stop using, or if I, because I mentioned earlier about being anxious and stuff like that, um, I wouldn't be able to be on any kind of anxiety medication unless it was something prescribed and taking it as prescribed by my physician.
So I know that I've already asked, what it feels like to think about quitting, but I really do want to know if you have tried to quit before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've tried to quit.
Do you want to
A
share
couple
that
times.
experience with me? Maybe those experiences you said you tried to quit a couple times.
Um, the first, like I guess maybe once, maybe even twice, I tried, and it was just to kind of um, see for myself maybe if I could get away from it for a couple of days, and it was kind of like, oh well, if I don't do it for 2 or 3 days, I'm not really an addict. I'm not really dependent upon them. So I did that once or twice. So in my mind, I told myself I don't have a problem if I can stay away for a couple days, which ultimately led back to using,
Right.
um, using them, not as prescribed, using them very frequently throughout the day. And then the last time that I really tried to quit, I was doing okay with it, struggling I guess as anyone would, but I had some issues come up, um, because I was trying to quit because my husband and my family had found out. So I kind of got into this snowball effect. He found out I was using more than what he had even thought, which caused him to ask for a divorce. And then it just kind of kept going. So I couldn't emotionally, I guess, handle that. So I started using a little bit more at a time. Like, okay, well now I'm using them as I was prescribed in the first place. So I'm getting myself through this situation. And then came, well, he knew I was using, so then he got custody of our kids. So then it was like one thing after another after another. So ultimately I ended up just back where I have been from the start, and I'm using more frequently than ever. So that's that situation.
So what I'm hearing from you is that it was that really hard situation that kind of threw you back into the what we would consider to be the abuse of your prescription drugs. I know that you said as you were going through the divorce, you were actually using your anti-anxiety medications the way you were supposed to be using them, and then when it got really difficult in your life, it turned into using them more frequently and in larger quantities, and back to that same position you were in before you had tried to quit.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just trying to kind of see where you're feeling in this and how that must have been really hard for you to be in that tough situation, and you were at a point in your life where you were trying to improve yourself, and then everything just kind of dwindled down as you were trying to go up. Did you have any other support system during that time?
Yeah. I have friends and I have other family members, in the area and that kind of thing. Um, but I also had mentioned where I thought where I could quit for a couple of days, I didn't really think I had a problem. Um, so I just they don't necessarily know the extent or know how much or how frequently I am using. I think they have their suspicions, but
Right.
never openly um, told them about the entire situation.
Okay. So I know that it's hard in any situation like this. It's going to be hard to really open up and be 100% honest with kind of what's going on in your life with those people who are close to you. I know that it's a big step for you even to be here talking to me, who is almost a complete stranger, to be telling me about all this stuff that's been going on. Um, but I do want to let you know that if your friends are there to support you in the improvements in your life, that opening up to them and talking to them about how you might need their help during this time, I think that they would be willing to be there for you. I think that's something you should look into is kind of embracing that other support system so that when a situation gets tough again, you have something else that you can be reliant on rather than your prescription medications that you can go talk to your friends about how maybe you're starting to feel like you can't really go on or maybe you're struggling a little bit, that they can talk to you and they can be there for you to keep you from going back down that path. Do you think your friends are those kind of people who would be able to help you with that?
Yeah, and it's kind of just like I have to um, let myself be helped, I guess. I don't really. It's hard to admit to them, hey, I have a problem, and I think it's going to be hard for them to take in all this information and still want to be supportive. And I know I don't necessarily think that they wouldn't be supportive, but I think telling them all of this and then expecting them to be there might be a little much. Like I feel like they might try to distance themselves at first, and that is another thing that I'm kind of fearful of is what if my support system gets smaller before they realize that I can do this, or um, I'm just afraid that they won't be encouraging in the right ways at the right time.
Do you feel like that might be another tough situation that you would have to work through?
Yeah, um, especially if I lost some of their support, that would be a difficult situation to handle, and I'm not exactly sure how I would handle it without using.
So, what I want to get into is kind of working on where we can find that separation between the tough situations and the link to using. I know that we've been talking about this, about finding something else to be reliant on besides the medications and the prescription drugs. Um, we want to work on some other things that we can do in a different form of stress relief, and like I said, something else to be relying on, like your friends. And that's going to be something that we're going to continuously work on, is drawing the line between that cause and effect behavior. Um, but what I do want to get back to is how you said that you thought that since you could quit for a few days, that made you feel like you were an addict. You said that was a thought you had before. Are you still feeling like that, or what is your direction of thought with that right now?
Um, I know I have a. I realized I did have a problem whenever I came back to using after the divorce and the kids and that kind of thing because I wasn't just. I realized that at that point I couldn't go a couple of days without them, that I needed them to escape reality because
Right.
it was too much for me to handle. So it was like I wasn't worried. I'm still not worried about anything other than just being high and being away from the problems and being away, um, like when you're using and when you're in your high, you're not. I'm not worried about my ex-husband and my kids and the fact that everything has been taken away from me. It's like empty. You feel nothing. You don't think about your problems. You don't think about um, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in a year, what's going to happen in 10 years. Like, it's like your brain just stops and you don't feel happy, you don't feel sad, you don't feel angry, you don't feel afraid, you feel nothing. And that's how I know that I have a problem, because you shouldn't you shouldn't want to feel nothing. I guess I should want to embrace all of the emotions when I feel them, but that's where it comes back to I don't know how to quit because I don't know how to handle it.
So we do want to kind of work on learning how to handle those kind of situations. Um, One thing I want to teach you, and I know that some stress relievers can be like going to the gym and doing some some intense workouts to kind of get that out. Um, some people partake in retail therapy to kind of relieve their stress. But people also do yoga. They find that to be really calming. Um, but I want to talk to you about some breathing exercises. And you, no matter where you are, if you are feeling like you are just about to hit your max with your stress, just kind of close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out and focus on your breathing. And then I want you to focus on letting that negative energy just leave you. Focus on letting it leave through your hands and through your feet, through your head, and letting it just exit you. And this will be something that it'll take some time practicing that this will actually be helpful for you. Um, but it'll make you calm down. It'll help you feel a little more relaxed in those tough situations. Do you think that's something that you could work on?
Yeah, I can try to incorporate the breathing techniques when I feel like I'm having emotions that I can't handle.
Right.
I don't know if it will necessarily, if that will make me quit using, but I do see how it could maybe calm me down in a more positive way. Um, just kind of let the negative flow out. So it makes sense, and I am willing to try that much at least.
That's so great that you're willing to try that. I know you said you don't understand how this is going to help you quit using. Um, and in our progression through treatment, the goal ultimately is for you to no longer be using. And I know me even saying that probably sounds scary to you, as we had talked about before. Um, but right now we do want to talk. We do want to focus on that cause of behavior that is wanting you, that's trying to get you to use. I know you say that you use because you become really stressful, or situations around you become really stressful and you become really stressed out. Um, so this breathing is going to kind of help to minimize that stress. So maybe right now, if we focus on lessening your stress, your usage might lessen. And that's just going to be something we're going to work on through this next week before we're able to meet again. Is going to be you focusing on lessening your stress. Maybe find a way to reach out to that second support system with your friends and talking to them and the breathing techniques. Is there anything else that you can think of that you might want to work on this week before we meet with till we meet again?
Um, I don't know if I want to say use less frequently. Um, I don't know if using less frequently or using less. drugs. I guess one of those, and I don't want to say that I want to like track my usage because I just feel like that's strange.
Right, I understand what you mean by that.
Um, but maybe if I were to eliminate one thing at a time, it would be easier so I'm not, getting rid of everything all at once because that's just kind of a big deal for me.
Right. So let's make a small goal. You say maybe not lessen the frequency, but maybe lessen your quantity. So this week we're going to work on that minimizing your stress and lowering your quantity that you're using with your medications. And I know you say it's strange to track that, but what I do want you to track is when you feel like you have used more than that, what we talked about, that healthy or normal amount. So don't track when you use, and don't track how much you use, unless how much you use is more than what you feel like is okay. And then we're going to talk about that at our next session, and we're going to talk about that stress relief and how it feels um, when you're relieving your stress and minimizing that without the medications. Do we feel good that we can work on that through this week?
Yeah.
Great. It's been a really great time getting to talk to you today. I feel like we've really made some progress, and I really can't wait to hear how your week has gone when we meet again.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.